Let's get the mail. Because there's a lot of mail. So this is gonna be a long show. How long was that intro, Joe? Like that's like a 30-minute intro we've done. So with all the stuff we talked about.
About 30, yeah.
Yeah. All right. First is to David Bentz. Subject is tweeting and WWE's kayfabe. Dear K100 crew, WWE in recent years has booked hype matches based off Twitter exchanges. One of the most famous being Becky Lynch constantly burying Ronda Rousey with the end of the 2023 draft. I see many NXT talents give praise to others who, when it was announced certain talents got called up. NXT champ Carmelo Hayes has just feuded and beat heel Grayson Waller, but give him his props on Twitter 1 week after beating him. My question is, in your opinion, should Twitter remain a tool used to hype feuds despite talents breaking kayfabe, or at this point should it even matter? David from Sacramento. Bro, I'm like I said, if I was in the business and I had Twitter, my Twitter account, this is me personally, would 100% be me in character promoting my television character. That 100%. I would maybe my Facebook would be different because that's like friends, connection. But if I was on Twitter, I would be in character promoting myself on promoting my character on Twitter, because I would see that doing that when I would go out in front of live audiences, if enough of people like didn't know anything about my real life and just knew about my character, they would react to my character.
Do you think back in the day in 97, 98, 99 that guys like Conan and Raven would have got in trouble on Twitter just based off the way they, their interviews with USA Today and stuff? You think Twitter would have got them heat?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead. Do you got a comment on this?
Yeah, what was the question?
I don't know if there was a question.
Should wrestlers use Twitter, in kayfabe fashion and use it as a tool to hype feuds, or should it even matter at this point, being that people know that it's, not legitimate?
Now, he was saying one guy congratulated another guy from NXT, right?
Yeah. Carmelo Hayes beat Grayson Waller, but then gave him props on Twitter a week later.
All right. First of all, let me say something. Grayson Waller's money all day, all night long.
Yeah.
Right.
I think being supportive is a generational thing. You see it
would your brother-in-law, Jacob, would you think he'd be a good manager for Grayson Waller?
No. I think like I said before, I think being supportive is a generational thing. You see it kind of everywhere. Some of it I think is fake, but it's a nicer environment for sure. You see it in sports, You see it in sports, bro. Bro, there's no way back in the day a Boston player would have helped a Philly player like they did on Monday, up off the court. They would have walked right over him and kept it moving, know. There were no get-togethers before with athletes. I like that edge. I don't like after a UFC or boxing match admitting it was all hype, because to me it's like, don't pull back the curtain, because now I doubt the other feuds, and I don't know what this guy from NXT wrote. I would have to see what he wrote. But if he said something like, congrats on getting to the main roster, but soon I'll be there kicking your ass like I did in NXT, I'm all for that. But if it's some writing like, yo, you deserve it, I'm not really with that.
Next one's from Brandon Davis. The subject is CM Punk by Brandon Davis. Hey, Conan, Disco, and Joe. What is your guys' opinion on Punk coming back? How do you truly feel about it? If this is my only
feel about it. Everything we say is how we truly feel.
Okay, this is how I truly feel. If he comes back and they do not do an angle with Kenny Omega and the Elite, it's complete. I'll say this is harsh. It's another example of mismanagement by that company. If he comes back and they keep those guys apart and they don't do that angle and they do different shows and he's on one show and they're it's classic textbook mismanagement of a situation where you could where you have a pot of gold and you're literally taking the pot of gold, dumping all the gold out into the trash and smashing the pot on the ground. If you're not doing that angle. So if he comes back and they don't do that angle, it's a disaster. It's comical, and it'll be funny too to watch how the dirt sheets don't treat it that way, which is obvious because like everybody and their mother, like if you're a fan, you want to see that angle, correct? I mean, like I'll throw this out there: if you're a fan, do you want to see an angle between CM Punk and the Elite guys? And like I think 99.9% of the fans would say yes. And like if you do not do that, you're basically giving the middle finger to your fans and saying, "Well, we're bringing him back, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and stuff like that." All right, whatever. And this is from a company that blocks me on Twitter on their social media, the at AEW. Okay, so whatever. And I'm giving them advice. That was a Tony
Schiavone call?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I've never posted anything vulgar or disrespectful on Twitter. I've just been critical of stuff. That's it. And like so they literally blocked me for doing critical reviews of some of the stuff. And I'm not gonna say all like they think I'm like maybe I'm a hater or something. No. I watch a show. I know what I like. I watch WWE. I watch SmackDown, Raw, and Dynamite. I watch all three shows. We review them segment by segment, and I tell you what I like and don't like, and what my opinion is of like each segment. And if I criticize an AEW segment, it's fascinating watching the reaction to people that are when I'm critical of a segment, but there's no reaction when I'm positive of a segment ever. Like nobody says, "Hey, Disco got right," stuff. Perfect example. Okay, Tony, so they put the tickets on sale today for Wembley, right? And Tony Khan made a post like this, bro. They sold 36,000 tickets today for the Wembley show for day one. Wow. I quote tweeted that and said, "Told y'all, I said this show would draw huge, would draw big numbers." And did I not say that on this show?
Yep.
Okay, so it's like a very positive response. Positive AEW, giving credit where credit's due. I said that they're going to that show could do 50, 60,000 people.
Here's a problem.
Go ahead.
Here's a problem. Nothing positive we've ever said ever gets quoted because that doesn't sell. And there's a
Sportskeeda does not put any positive responses of stuff that.
And I don't give a fuck about Sportskeeda to tell you the truth. But the problem is that's what they're reading, that's what they're getting, that's what they're being shown, right? So they think that's all there is. Right. And I'm like, well, have you ever been in a? Because I was talking to Chavo Guerrero the other day about the thing with Rey Mysterio.
Oh, really?
And he was telling me, Conan, I was kidding. I also said this, and this, but they didn't say that. And I go, bro, I've been there. I've been trending 3 times for negative shit. One was a joke. The other one, I forgot what the it was. I go, but that's the way it is, And I just think that when you talk to somebody and it hits close to home, like what happened with you were just telling me about Billy and Joe. If Billy would have written, "Yeah, Conan's and he's old and I don't like him," and all. Bro, he's getting ignored from me from the rest of his life. I already put on Twitter, I said, please refrain from interacting with me again. Right. And he did it again. So I blocked him, And so he can say whatever he wants. It does not bother me. I don't give a but we're wired differently. There are a lot of guys that they're super sensitive. They don't want anything critical about them, their company. You got to always put them over, or you're a hater, or you don't like them.
Tony Khan shows a lot of
like
those
characteristics. Like that Mark Sterling guy that goes, "Oh, Conan must hate me." I'm not going to say who it is, but Taya told me some girl told her in AEW, "Oh, Conan must hate me because I don't put her over." No, I don't hate you. I just don't like what you're doing right now. If you do something just like Sheamus, I didn't like what he was doing, and I was burying him, and he actually called me out once in a bar that I told you about. And when I saw him now in WrestleMania, I go, bro, you've come a long way. Nothing but respect, because he has gotten better,
And plus, too, it's like these people don't realize, it's like the perspective that we're coming from, we're not marks. We're not mark podcasters. Bro, we've been agents, writing room or something. Literally everything we talk about on the show if we would say it to this talent's face in a room, like every criticism that I give, every positive thing I give, I've been an agent before. And I've agented a lot of these guys that are on TV, and they've sat with me and gone over their matches and everything, and and when their match is over, they come back and we get in a room and say, and I tell them, I say, bro, I did not like that something, which is what we do on the show, So it's like, but the thing is that there's so many people in the business today, and I'm not one of them, that just cannot. The people, I'm talking about people in the business from the whole spectrum, the dirt sheet guys, the wrestlers, the owners, the like everybody. There's just people that have these sensibilities where they cannot handle public criticism. And it's like, if you can't handle public criticism, it's like, dude, it's like you kind of got in the wrong business, because you're outperforming in front of a live crowd and is blasted out on TV every week. So whatever you're doing is in the public sphere. So you have to understand that some people are going to like it, and some people are not going to like it, and some people are going to like it, but they're going to pretend that they don't like it and just try to bury you. Okay? Because that's social media. There's trolls. There's people that just try to get a reaction stuff. And when you feed into the reactions, it's like you're literally selling for the trolls and giving the trolls the win and letting them raise their hand. Because when you're feeding into the criticism and it bothers you from people with 15 followers on Twitter and everything, that person's going back and retweeting that you sold for him and stuff, and he got a win. And you're giving wins to people that who are these people? The only people that you should worry about are the people that you work for and are writing your checks or are paying you. That period. Those are the only people you really got to in this business. It is a business. You got hired. You're getting paid. If you're performing for them and the fan. You're performing for the fans, and if the fans are responding favorably because of your performance, it's making the person that paid you happy. If the fans are not responding, it's like, okay, well, why am I not responding? It's and then think well, they're all just haters. It's like, no, maybe she should look at maybe listen to the criticism, construct it, think maybe they're right, maybe this right stuff. But if you're just if you can't handle the criticism, bro, I don't know how you're going to succeed in this business. We've been criticized, but me and you are. I mean, in the history of since social media's been around, have we got how many people get more heat than us? Not a lot.
And you guys have been doing it since the WrestleZone message boards. I
mean, and all we do is we're people that were in the business. We've been on booking committees. We've been agents. We've done it. We've done literally every single thing that you can do in this business except own the company. Okay, and our perspective is. We're literally from our perspective, we don't give a about the critics. So that should tell you something. It's okay, well, we don't care. Why do all you guys care? It's I've been, bro, I've literally been in front of 10,000 people that were 10,000 fans, and we'll edit you censor this. They were chanting. It's think about that. Okay, think about if that happened to a professional wrestler today.
Right.
They would go on, oh my God, they would virtue signal and stuff. It's think
about it. If even one fan. Yeah.
Right, I would come back through the curtain, and Kidman and Perry Saturn and everything would be just cracking up at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just so it's it's weird. It's you people just the people that follow this business and stuff, everything, need to understand that everybody has different sensibilities, but you can't worry about what people you don't know think about you. Because I've been in front of we've been in front of crowds. I don't know any of these people. They're booing at me. They're chanting slurs at me. They're cussing at me. Little kids are. I don't care. It's it's I don't know. I'm just immune to it. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird that so many people don't share the same opinion that I do on this stuff. I don't know why more people don't think the way I do about this.
Social media ruined everything.
Oh no, go ahead, Conan.
Now the guy wanted to know what you would do, Joe. What would you do
with Punk?
Well,
We
no,
got way
with
out of the
Stevie Ray. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, and it's 100%. Everybody thinks, man, we want to see Punk in the Elite, and let's turn that into a story. And I agree too. However, if we can't make that happen, I'm looking forward to Punk and Jericho because I've wanted to see them go toe to toe on the mic since Punk came back, and now with all the back and forth they've done publicly, and they were rumored to not exactly be close in WWE either. So I think when those two go face to face on the mic, we're going to see some good with a lot of real emotion and real genuine thoughts.
All right, here's what I would do. I've said this before. Okay, you bring Punk back. He comes out at the top. You don't even announce him. You're AEW Dynamite. You hit the music at the top of the show. He comes to the ring. He calls those guys out. He uses foul language. He let's go. Kenny Omega comes out. Runs to the ring. They start fighting, and you need to do a good and the people come in and break it up. You do a big pull apart to start the show, and they challenge. Okay, let's have a street fight in the main event. And then, bro, then you got 2 hours of TV to sell this stuff, and that's the start of the angle, because that's how this story that everybody knows. That's where the story generates from, a real fight.
Right.
They had a real fight in the locker room because he ran his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So you just pick up from that point. He runs his mouth again, disrespecting everybody. The guy comes down like they went to the locker room to fight the guy in the first time, and you just start that story. And in that first show, that's what you do. And it's and bro, I'm telling you, they'll do 1.5 million fans. They'll do their highest viewership ever the following week. Because the buzz will just be tremendous if they can sell this as they're really fighting each other.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Go ahead.
This is good for business. It's easy to stay mad and not want to engage or talk. That's what all the young cats like to do nowadays. I don't know how they get anything done, ignoring each other. But I think if Tony is there and some other people who everyone respects and defected parties are face to face, it's a different conversation. And I'm going to give you an example. I had mega heat with a couple of our top stars. One guy called Cibernetico, another guy's Chessman, another guy's our boy Vamp.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not easy to get along with.
So time out. Time out. Right. I know the heat you have with Vamp over the years, and you guys have been back. Right. You guys have.
Right.
All right, let's do business. He's a very difficult guy to get along with. So right. I've known him everybody knows the problems, right?
Right.
Where would you rank him with the Heat? Who are the other two guys?
Cibernetico and Chessman.
Okay, is Vamp number one on that list, or is Cibernetico and Chessman? Because I've never heard about. I don't know about your relationship with Cibernetico and Chessman, but I know the issues you've had with Vamp because I've spoken to both of you about them, and when you were going through them and stuff. So but what's it?
They would definitely be top five. Those two guys. So, I'm not easy to get along with if you're unprofessional, and all these guys were, and I could have made sure they never worked in AAA, but I don't buy tickets and I don't have to live or consort with them. So people don't really know that they're a pain in the ass because, bro, all the wrestlers are experts at working the press and coming off as likable, and so people still like and follow them. And I would be ignorant not to give the fans what they want. And they wanted Cibernetico, and they love Vamp. They still love him in Mexico. It's kind of like if Taker and Shawn Michaels were still wrestling,
right?
Kind of like Ray and Jericho are today,
right.
Like loved veterans, respected veterans, right? But they were never going to make the first move ever due to pride. So I did, which that in itself opened them up to changing their perceptions of me. And all three of us worked together with a minimum to zero problems, when they used to be a daily headache. And bro, in one case, in two of the cases, it almost turned physical. And in one of the cases, I was actually packing a gun. That's how bad it got. I'm serious, bro. And so they have a chance to turn this into an angle. And if it's well written and booked, could be the catalyst for other things in the company. Because this is something everybody wants to see. And if they, like I said yesterday, if they can make the illusion that they may go into business for themselves or somebody may not cooperate, that's money.
Right. So next one is from our boy Brian Dunlop, who wants Brian Dunlop's the guy that likes to give all the fantasy booker guy. He likes to give booking ideas, right? Subject is Dominik Mysterio as Mr. Money in the Bank 2023. Hello, Conan and Disco. Dominik Mysterio is getting nuclear heat as a heel right now. The most of the company, at least when it comes to his recent crowd responses. Water is wet, and ex-con Dom gets heat. I don't remember this level of heat on anybody since Mr. McMahon in the Attitude Era. But by the way, I'm going to direct us to a Twitter thread that you guys are going to be entertained by this, right? Dom on the May 1st, 2023 episode of Monday Night Raw was something else. Did you watch Raw last night, by the way, Conan?
Yeah.
Did you see the heat that Dom got?
Incredible.
This has me thinking. Dominik could be a perfect as Mr. Money in the Bank. I'm not saying throw the world title on him, but if he wins the briefcase, the plan should be to see how the crowd responds to him week to week. I definitely don't think he's there yet as draw to become World Heavyweight Champion. But I think WWE should at least tease the idea and test the waters when it comes to World Champ Dom. What do y'all think? Joe included. Should Dominik Mysterio become the 2023 Mr. Money in the Bank? Imagine the heat he could draw with that briefcase, the fans knowing there's a decent possibility he'd win the top title and become the real big dog in the yard. I'm looking at you, Tribal Chief. All right. This is great, Vin. So, Russo, all right, this is like right before we came on the air, I saw this tweet, and so I responded to Vince. Bro, Vince on his show literally said, okay, let me read you an article here. This is I didn't listen to Vince's show, but this is an article from NoDQ.com that was reporting on Vince's comments on the show. As NoDQ is just the Mark website, but they're just reporting on what Vince said. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, but they're reporting on things Vince said, so it's not fake news. This is a report on Vince's actual words, right? As seen during the May 1st, 2023 edition of WWE Raw, Rey Mysterio was heavily booed anytime he tried. Oh no, the guy they already screwed up. They meant Dominik Mysterio was heavily booed anytime he tried to talk on the microphone. While appearing on SportsKeeda.com's Wrestle Bing podcast, former WWE Vince writer Vince Russo questioned if all of the heat was legitimate. Oh, a quote. Oh, okay, all right, whatever. Bro, Chris, listen, am I crazy? They're piping in that Dominik heat, bro. Here is why I think so. I've been in front of many, many crowds in my life when people had tremendous, tremendous heat. Bro, you cannot physically keep up that level of heat for so long. I could be wrong, but I do not think it's all 100% authentic heat. Okay? So I quote, this was on Twitter, so I quote tweeted that, okay? And let me see here. I quote tweeted that and said, "Oh my God, at the Vince Russo, what on earth, LOL." Okay? Vince responded and says, "Bro, when nobody else has any heat," and he puts in capital letters, any heat on the show, and this kid has, and he puts in capital letters, blistering heat, you have to question it. But take nothing away from young Dom. He's doing a tremendous, tremendous job. Big supporter, okay? So basically Vince is saying that they're piping in the crowd heat, okay?
Right.
So somebody responded to him and said, "To be fair, a friend of mine who hasn't watched wrestling since the mid-'90s and now has a son asked if Ray, quote, had beat that little unquote. He sees that heat with people who don't follow much anymore." Then Vince responded, "That's cool, but he doesn't have heat with me. To me, he's entertaining, as you know." I gotta try and find where I'm responding here. So I'm going to show you the two responses to me. Okay, so then Vince responds to me, okay? "Bro, when nobody else has any heat on the show and this kid has blistering heat, you have to question, but take away care." Then I quote tweeted this. "Nothing to question. It's a great gimmick that nearly every fan can get invested in. A disrespectful punk kid whose dad is one of the most likable guys on the planet Earth. Fans can respect this act and give it the heat it deserves, which is what they're doing." Then Vince responded, said, "A disrespectful kid is a quote-unquote great gimmick? Really, Glenn? Man, bro, sounds like you're doing the limbo like a lot of the others. I don't lower bars, I raise them. You used to as well. I respond to this by saying, I am right and you are wrong. Bro, okay, show me in the history of professional wrestling where there has been a disrespectful kid that's a shoot son of the father and is acted like this. It has I'm asking just generally. Has this happened before?
David Flair and Ric Flair.
But David Flair was not even close. Like his stuff wasn't even remotely close, right?
How about in Memphis, Brian Christopher and Jerry Lawler?
They never really did an angle with each other. They never feuded.
Yeah.
Even WWE.
Nope.
Just a little bit. Brian came back.
Asking.
Yeah, Brian came back and talked to him once.
It's as easy as this, Vince. I mean, if they're piping in crowd noise, why wouldn't
right?
Rules, why wouldn't they do with another wrestler? Why would they only do with Dominik? That's number one. Number two,
to the guy that doesn't need it. Why would they do it to the guy that doesn't need the piped in crowd noise? Right?
Number two, I was in WrestleMania. I heard that. Number three, I was sent a tape from his match in Madison Square Garden, and that was not piped in booze either. And bro, he had the most heat out of anybody the whole night. It's like you said, it's a very easy, Vince, that is a gimmick. A disrespectful kid, because we all know a kid that's disrespectful to his parents, and you're like, damn, if I ever was his dad, I'd beat his.
The kid's going to jail. He's embracing the prison life. It's how many fans wouldn't want to see a kid, your kid, publicly disrespecting you, and this kid's been to jail, and it's he's. How could anybody? Nobody's going to cheer this.
Not only that, he's disrespecting his mom, screaming at her, disrespecting his sister.
Not one fan in that arena can find a reason to cheer this guy.
Right.
Even if you want to
heel.
Exactly. And it's and I think the fans are giving this gimmick the respect it deserves because, bro, there's not a lot of trolling. Remember, the fans used to troll the show. Where they cheer the heels, boo the baby fan, they boo John Cena, and so they're not doing that anymore. Ever since wrestling did not do live crowds for a year, when they came back, it's kind of
you know what I think? Think? All the fans that were unhappy went to AEW, and all the fans that are happy are still there in WWE.
And then they're
not going to hijack the show.
They're not going to hijack the show, right? And so and then what they're going to do is when a character like this is on TV, they're going to boo because, bro, when people start booing and you're at a wrestling show, it's fan involvement. You kind of start booing too. It's you boo, and everybody's booing. It's you're not just gonna sit there. You're there for crowd participation. So I think I'm doing a show with Vince tomorrow. I'm gonna definitely. It's gonna be fascinating conversation with him because I think he's way off on this. Vince is so anti-wrestling booking, all the booking still stinks. Everything's that he's trapped. He's gotten caught in a bear trap here, where he can't see the obvious. He's ignoring the obvious, and well, my take is still right. So no, you're way off on this. So
let me get a little bit of water because I'm parched.
Sure, go ahead.
Glenn.
Yes.
While I was getting water, I was thinking about something about Vince Russo. Tell me, because you know him better than I do. I almost get the idea when you were telling me now that he's saying, well, nothing's good and all that, when obviously the bloodline is good and the Rey Mysterio.
No, he does think so. He's reiterated so he does like some of the stuff, but he's super critical. Let
me ask you a question. Do you think that there's a part of him, since he did do some great things when WWE finally overtook WCW, and a lot of times he doesn't get respect, especially from a lot of his peers, because he decided to become combative with them, and so guys like Meltzer and other guys like that, they never give him his due, and I kind of think he'd like to come back and kind of do something and write, and nobody's really called him, and maybe he's mad about that, do you think, or not?
I think at his age, because I talked to him, we would every other week, I've done shows in the past, right? At his age, I definitely think he's not really interested in doing but I don't know. It's like I think the problem is that the criticism of like he's kind of upset that there's kind of that they've kind of like created this echo chamber of like Vince Russo doesn't know what he's talking
and
about.
everything that he did sucked.
And everything he did sucked. And it's like you can't like look at that and like as a reasonable person say that that's absurd. Like to the point that like Alvarez and Lance Storm were literally like going back and watching, like doing watch-alongs of old Attitude Era Raws and trying to criticize them, the booking.
Right.
Which is like, it's like what are you guys doing? It's like, like, right. Bro, it's like I think that Vince kind of like sees like the polarization in like in wrestling, but he's kind of fed into it.
Right.
Because he's like assumed his sign. Like, I think the criticism of him is extremely unfair. You can criticize him in WCW, but it's like, if you look at the historical history since Vince ever I think Vince started writing in 1996, right? And nobody wants to admit Vince changed the way shows were written.
Yeah.
Vince was the guy that brought the camera into the back. Vignettes were like, just recorded, like the camera wasn't there. And bro, you've been in WCW. You remember before Vince came, the show was basically like, there wasn't a show that was like on paper. There's just names on the board. You look at the board, Conan versus Disco, 12 minutes. And like we go there. When Vince came in, there was a written show. He was actually writing a show and like, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, I kind of get the vision of the show. So it's like, I think that like, because Vince kind of like did the sledgehammer to the old school philosophy of booking and started like calling it writing. We're writing a show. We're writers, I'm a writer. So like this whole thing, like writer versus booker, like, stuff, and like kind of like drew the line in the sand. Like, okay, wrestling needs writers. And to the point, like today, it's like, wrestling is hiring a bunch of writers. And they're hiring writers that like from outside, like from like TV and stuff to like write stories and stuff. And then like, I don't think Vince gets enough credit for that. That like, if wrestling storytelling, Vince is the kind of guy that they brought in is like, yeah, we need storytellers. Not bookers, not this old school, not, and like he's kind of right about that to the point that like even you today, like when you write a show, do you write it in like the Vince Russo format or do you write in the old WCW format before Vince Russo came? How do you write a show?
Yeah, in the Vince Russo format.
So it's like it's funny.
But I wasn't I wasn't really that much influenced by Vince. I was more influenced by Paul E.
Okay, but the actual process of writing the show and when you're writing the show, what you put on paper and what you submit, that's right. Vince. Right. And I think people don't want to give him credit for that. It's like
you have to give him credit, bro.
Right,
because
he
was writing during the most successful time in the history of wrestling when there was a real wrestling war going on, where both of them had major stars and major ratings, and
he changed the way you write the show, and then they overtook like right, yeah. So
Vince,
that's
Vince might have edited some of his. That's what he does as an owner. Some of my gets edited by the owner of the company, right?
Right,
but
right.
I'm writing it. He was writing it with Teddy Bear Ferrara.
Right.
By the way, Teddy Bear has Sea Monkey Heat with me.
He's off Twitter. Yeah, but he doesn't want to. I think he's off the grid because he's not even. I saw his Twitter account has been deleted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I tried to hit him up, and he's deleted. Maybe he might still be on Facebook, but I don't know.
Do you guys find it offensive that Ed Ferrara never came on K100, but he's actually a 2-time Creative Control guest back in the day? Does that really?
No, I find it offensive that you had a show and you thought it was going to do good.
Get a load of this. You know who I connected with? I sent a text to the last night. Mike Tenay.
Oh, cool.
He's been off the grid. Like we shared a text exchange. He spends his time between San Diego and southern Utah. And he comes to Vegas every once in a while. He said.
Would Mike Tenay do K100 Sports because he is a gambling?
I was going to ask him that. I was going to. I might text him and say, "Hey, I know you don't, but bro, he's off the grid. He says he's been off the grid since 2000.
I don't
think
no wrestling. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just talking about hockey.
But amongst friends,
because he used to actually.
We're real good friends.
He used to actually write for the LA Kings, like their website. So yeah, interesting. All right, let's continue this. So next one's from William Molina Jr. and the subject is work rate. Dear K100 crew, I just rediscovered your show and I once again enjoy the honest content you guys provide. My question is, can you compare the work rate of your guys' times as an active wrestler to today's current wrestlers? And you can comment on the work rate outside of wrestling as well. I work at a call center where agents go to work and hang out and are paid for it than rather... Okay, let me read the sentence again. I work at a call center where agents go to work and hang out and are paid for it rather than earn it. I feel a lot of behavior has creeped its way into wrestling. I'm 45 and I remember you had to work for everything and laziness is not a reward. You were fired for it. Since laziness is rewarded or paid in some form or fashion, when you call them out on it, they get defensive and contact HR or file a lawsuit. Okay, well, compare the work rate of you guys' time as an actor.
What he's saying, and I agree with what he's saying. What he means is it's generational. So there's a younger generation in wrestling. There's a younger generation in the workforce, and you do have to be careful who you hire and how you discipline them because they will come back at you with an HR complaint or a lawsuit for sure.
I'll tell you this though, for work rate specifically, okay, I will say the work ethic of us was way better because we would work harder at selling the other guy's offense.
And 3 to 4 shows a week sometimes.
No, but I'm going to say specifically like in-ring work. The wrestlers today are very offense-centric. Like they're getting their shit in. Even Brian Cage is like, what's his hashtag thing? GY, something he did.
Yeah,
get my shit in, right? Mm-hmm. It's like anybody thinks like, okay, get my shit in. And it's like, okay, but like a lot of guys don't work hard at like selling the other guy's shit like I did. You know, like there's a lot. You watch the selling as it used to be, like today's generation and our generation. Guys sold better, way better. We sold punches and kicks and stuff. Like if a guy punched you in the face, you'd take a bump and grab your face. If a guy kicked you in the stomach, you'd double over. So, bro, they don't sell like they do today. Like. So there's not a lot of effort given into making other people's stuff look good. And like I would think that like I would say that our generation, we were better workers because we all kind of like tried to sell everybody's shit and make it look good. You know, I think you can literally just go on YouTube and watch a bunch of matches from today, watch a bunch of matches from our generation. And see that what I'm saying is absolutely correct. You know? I don't know. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely the work rate in our time was better. Bro, a lot of guys today don't even know how to work.
Right.
And I don't know if it's laziness.
You get you learn a bunch of acrobatic moves and you think you're a wrestler.
Right. They just learn that they see on videos and try to replicate it.
Right.
And I don't know if it's laziness, but there's definitely a sense of entitlement with the younger generation in general. There are exceptions and shortcuts and not wanting to put in the time of work and not giving up what like we went through.
Right.
And you got to think about this. There's so many guys that aren't ready for prime time because when you look at WCW, like when Jericho got into WCW, he'd been in the business like probably 7 years. But he'd already been to Japan, the ECW, to Mexico, the Smoky Mountain. I had been in 10 years. I'd been to Canada, the Stampede. No, I'd been everywhere. Ray had been in 10 years, you know. Bro, there are guys in the business today, because it's happened to me and I've seen it, that have been in 2-3 years and you can't tell them, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's also another thing. A lot of guys are just thrown into the deep end really early and they don't know what they're doing. And a lot of veterans that I talk to share my sentiments. Right. Just learn from those who did it before you. There's a lot there that you can learn.